Alright, hello and welcome back to the second round. Again, I had some trouble with the recording, so this one is also done in this beautiful post-production way. So we're playing against the one and only Pascal Maynard, and let's see what he is playing. I won a die roll. That doesn't happen all that often, but sometimes it does. So I look at this hand and it's quite weak, I think. It doesn't really do all that much. I mean, the Past in Flames is quite good, but and especially in combination with the LED. But the Ponder, the Ponder can find me some action, maybe a Brainstorm to get rid of some of these fetch lands. But still, I'm not entirely happy with keeping this hand. But you gotta live a little, so I do end up keeping the hand and go for the turn 1 Ponder. So not knowing what I'm up against and the fact that I just have a million lands in hand, I just get the island, be wasteland proof, and cast a Ponder. Alright, so let's see what we get. A couple of mana spells and a Bloodstained Mire. So in hindsight, I'm pretty sure I should have just shuffled here, trying to find another Ponder or Brainstorm, but I decide to keep because I have this Past in Flames, and this means any Inferno Tutor is basically game over. So I keep these cards, and also, of course, knowing that I can just shuffle away the fetch land, the Bloodstained Mire is on top. Right, Scalding Tarn from my opponent. That yeah, very suspicious. It could be either Show and Tell, I guess, or Blue Red Delver. But Blue Red Delver not playing anything on turn 1, that would be quite a weird start. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to pass the turn here. Again, my hand is quite slow, but from next turn onwards, I have a lot of life draws. Any Ponder effect, any Brainstorm, something like that. So my opponent plays a Volcanic Island, and at this point, Volcanic Island are not doing anything on turn 2. I am very scared because if they just drop a counterbalance, that would be bad for me. Right. So I fetch end of turn to get rid of the Bloodstained Mire. Draw a Tropical Island, which I play, and yes, I shouldn't have played that Tropical Island. I should have played the Polluted Delta, but can't worry about this too much. I should say that at this point I am actually Skyping with Francis, who is Island Go on Twitch, and or maybe he changed his name to FGC MTG. Not entirely sure. Either way, check both of those names out. And he's distracting me quite a lot, making rude jokes and all of that, which I do not encourage. But yeah, so my opponent goes end of turn Brainstorm. I mean, they have a fetch land in play, so it basically doesn't. It is no different to casting it on their turn. Maybe their hand is not very good, so yeah. And here, fetching the Tundra. If this isn't Miracles, I'm gonna eat my hat, and even more now. Alright, but they don't have a counterbalance, which is great. At this point, I'm obviously hoping they have like 4 Swords to Plowshares in hand, and 2 Terminus maybe. A man can dream. Alright, so let's see what we draw for our turn. And it's a Brainstorm, which is basically the ideal draw here. So I cast a Brainstorm, finding a Ponder, a land, and the Tendrils. Knowing I'm up against Miracles, actually having the Tendrils in hand is really good, because you can just cast a bunch of spells and Tendrils them, and they are just sitting there waiting to counter your Inferno Tutor or your Past in Flames or something like that. So you can get them that way quite well. So here I'm going to put back 2 lands and play my Polluted Delta and shuffle those 2 lands away. And once I'm done with that, I can play the Ponder and see what's going on. So obviously tapping the Tropical Island because I'm not really doing anything with that. Looking at these 3 cards, they are all pretty bad, so I'm just going to shuffle and draw something else. Alright, Cabal Therapy. Cabal Therapy is a pretty good draw here. It's debatable whether or not I should cast it here because I'm probably not going off this turn. I could be, I guess. But yeah. So I name Force of Will. And so here, because they have the counterspell in hand, I actually can't go off this turn. I could have potentially gone off otherwise. No, I cast the Petal, cast the Cabal Ritual, that is Storm 5, cast the LED, Storm 6, Storm 7 to cast the to recast the Past in Flames, recast the Cabal Ritual, Storm 8, and then recast Cabal Therapy, Storm 9, and Tendril, Storm 10. But because they have both Force of Will and Counterspell in hand, I can't actually do that. So I just have to say go. So I get a Force of Will, which is nice, but I know they have a Counterspell in hand, which also obviously explains why they. Oops, I don't have to press OK here. Why they kept 2 mana open the entire time. So yeah, I just have to say go here. That's what I do. So my opponent, end of turn, flashes in an Ambush Viper. That draws them a card. So I mean, you could say, well, casting a Brainstorm here isn't amazing, but I don't see a reason not to. It gets you a card deeper. Now, I mean, with what I've done so far, it's 100% sure I'm on Storm. So you just want to find that Force of Will. And this way they have a clock, and the clock is very important in this matchup. Because otherwise I can just sit here and not do anything and eventually rip their hand apart and win. Unless, of course, they find a counterbalance. But they don't, so at least not yet. So here, cast a Ponder, drawing a card, and Sensei's Divining Top. Now the race is on, because this top is going to find them everything they want. Right, so Snapcaster Mage hits me down to 15. And I draw LED. Now I know they have a counterspell in hand, so I kind of need to bait that. The problem is that, you know, I have to commit quite a lot in order to bait it. So that's why here I'm just gonna cast this Past in Flames, which gives me a lot of life draws for next turn. Basically any ritual does it, or any tutor does it. Yeah, so I think here I am just. Oh no, this is actually good enough, right? Sorry, I miscounted there myself just now, because I can just flashback my Past in Flames, cast a ritual, and then win from there. I think so, unless they have a Force of Will, and so here they tap the top, which to me means that they probably found a Force of Will, but they don't. So I get to cast the Cabal Therapy, naming Force of Will, and then sacrificing my LED to kill them exactly, because they're on 19. Alright, so that was game 1. I'll see you soon for game 2. Alright, and we're back for the second game. So, what do we have here? I think this hand is pretty okay. We have a Ponder to find a second land, Cabal Therapy to, potentially get rid of a of the counterbalances that my opponent might have. And then if they do resolve a counterbalance, I already have an Abrupt Decay to get rid of it. Besides that, having Tendrils in your opening hand is not amazing, but it does lead to some good situations. I actually don't like having it in the opening hand, especially with LED, because they can just surgical it. So you need to be aware of that. And Pass and Flames is always good to have. So I of course mulligan that hand. Yeah, so I should have kept that hand. That is for sure. But this hand is much better. It has a lot more blue cards and a lot more Gitaxian probes. So that's great. So I keep this hand because it has the best card in the matchup, since it's Defining Top, and we're off to the races. Alright, Flooded Strand from my opponent. So hopefully this works. And yep. Okay, I don't know exactly why this is so slow right now, but okay. So we draw Dark Ritual and lead off with a Gitaxian Probe. So I see my opponent has a counterbalance, so that would have definitely been the card that I named with the Cabal Therapy of the previous hand. So I think I can't explain why I mulliganed that hand. Please don't make me explain it. Okay, so I play the Sensei's Defining Top here, and yeah, now I just need to find lands. So that's why I cast the second Gitaxian Probe. And now I have the Tendrils in hand anyway, which presumably was the reason why I decided to mulligan, because it's just not good against surgical. Right, so now I need to both find lands and an Abrupt Decay. And yeah, so here, I'm going to blame Francis for this one. I don't stop on upkeep, and I draw a Cabal Therapy, which is quite a bad draw. So that basically means I need to cast this Ponder into the counterbalance. And let's see what they reveal. Well, they reveal a Force of Will, so at least they don't counter my Ponder. But yeah, okay, so I see that actually this line works out better for me, having forgotten to put a stop on my upkeep, because I can now shuffle, and of those 4 cards, I would have definitely drawn the Cabal Therapy first anyway. Draw an LED, nothing to see here, and yeah, just pass the turn. Remembering that I should cast my spells whilst they resolve into the counterbalance, so I just cast this LED. Storm Count will probably not matter all that much, so yeah, this time, and there is a second counterbalance. Well, at least they're not doing anything else. So I need to find lands and Crows and Grips, which I do, which is great. So I can deal at least with 1 counterbalance, which would be good. So next turn I can draw the Crows and Grip. I bring in 2 Crows and Grips and 3 Abrupt Decays, at least on my Magic Online version, which is a little bit different from the version I usually play, which is a little bit more exciting with Leovolds in the sideboard. Yeah, so here I just draw the Crows and Grip, and pass the turn. Now all I need to do is draw lands and find more Abrupt Decays. So hopefully this Trop and this Bloodstained will find me what I need. So let's have a look. My opponent isn't doing anything, so that's good and bad, I guess. These are all good cards, but with double counterbalance, I can't really afford to try anything here. So I'm just gonna shuffle those away and top again. Finding a land, so that's good. And behind the land I have a brainstorm, so all is good in the world. Right, so I can now Frozen Grip, end of turn. My opponent casts a Ponder, so they get to rearrange the top of their deck, making sure that they have a 1 or a 2 on top. And at this point I'm like, well, they just cast a Ponder, there is no way in hell they keep a 3 on top. So I feel pretty safe with this Crescent Grip. And yeah, alright, now I should upkeep top to find more business. I don't. Just gonna find this LED and pass the turn back. Yeah, so the good thing here is that my opponent actually doesn't do anything. So that gives me a lot of time to try and find my answers. So let's see what I find here. Flooded Strand is the card that I need to draw. Because again, in this matchup it's very important to just make your land drops, and you not necessarily have to do anything amazing, at least until they start pressuring you. Now this is pretty good for my opponent. They find a top. Right. So let's see what I find. I do find the Abrupt Decay. Sorry for the click through there, but I put a card back that is not that important. And I find an Abrupt Decay. So I think here, in hindsight, I should probably just top into the Abrupt Decay now and get rid of their counterbalance. That gives me 2 extra mana to work with on the following turn. And I can still... I would draw the Sensei's Divining top, which means I could still play that in a pinch and cast my Inferno Tutor and tap it into the Inferno Tutor. But instead I decide to just take it slow, especially because my opponent isn't doing anything, as I've been saying. And now they do have an active top, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, so I think in hindsight I would definitely just go for the Abrupt Decay in their past end step. But as is, I decide to take a slower route. So they cast Ponder. And here I Abrupt Decay the Counterbalance. And we finally have a game again where I can cast my cantrips. So Brainstorm, Inferno Tutor. I decide to draw the Inferno Tutor. You know, it's an action card for an action-packed game. And I lead off with Ponder. Brainstorm value. That is nothing to write home about, but this Past in Flames, that definitely is something to write home about. So I cast a Ponder. Oh, sorry, no, I don't cast a Ponder. I cast the Cabal Therapy, trying to hit the Force of Will that I know my opponent has in hand. They cast a Brainstorm in response. I'm still going to name Force of Will. I mean, if they have a Flusterstorm, I think they just put the Flusterstorm on top, which means I should name Force of Will here, because Flusterstorm is just better in this situation. But instead I find that they do a lot of things. So they have double Snapcaster Mage, Flusterstorm, and Force of Will, and Pyroblast. Right, so I then instantly forget about the Pyroblast and cast my Ponder. Well, to be fair, this does tap them out of blue mana, so they have to shuffle away if they want to cast a Flusterstorm. So I'm just gonna go with this was a brilliant play, but really it wasn't. So okay, so here I have a lot of mana and I have a lot of action. So my thinking is they have a Flusterstorm in hand. I can beat one counterspell, and so I am thinking just to go for it. So Dark Ritual, LED, and I cast Infernal Tutor, getting rid of both of my cards. Now the problem is here that I reveal to my opponent exactly what I have, which is a little bit annoying. So yeah, my opponent taps into Sensei's Divining Top. So they probably have a second Force of Will, and indeed they do have a second Force of Will, pitching a Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, so this is pretty unfortunate because now I can't actually just cast Past in Flames, Dark Ritual into Tendrils because they have a Flusterstorm, so that is not going to work. I mean, the thing is, my Past in Flames is probably not going to resolve at this point. So yeah, because if I cast Past in Flames here, they just have to Flusterstorm that because otherwise I get a Cabal Therapy. So that doesn't actually help me anything at all. And then and that means that I don't have a Past in Flames anymore. So with the mana, I actually do. No, I don't have quite enough to also cast a Cabal Therapy, which means that I would have to hit off this top. So instead I just decide to top first and see what I find. So Cabal Therapy into Inferno Tutor, Pass and Flame. So that's pretty good. As far as my top decks, the top of my deck goes, that is pretty good. Yeah, so I somehow decide to cast this, not to cast my Past in Flames here, but instead I draw the Cabal Therapy, and I cast it. Now this is not amazing play now. Well, I don't know. It's a little bit debatable what to do from this point onwards. I mean, I now don't have enough mana to actually do anything this turn. So my thinking is to just try and set up next turn. But he does still have a Snapcaster Mage in hand, so taking Flusterstorm here doesn't actually achieve much apart from me getting to resolve my Past in Flames. So instead I just name Snapcaster Mage and hope to do something in the following turns. And then I flashback Past in Flames. No, he's to bait a Flusterstorm. Because I know I have another Past in Flames on top, and I don't have red mana available, so I'm thinking, well, might as well just flashback Past in Flames. If he doesn't Flusterstorm this, I at least get to draw 2 cards of the double Gitaxian Probes, and I'm so much deeper into my deck. And then I have 6. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think Francis was telling me a joke and I just completely forgot what I was supposed to do. So I F6 through my turn, which was quite annoying. And my opponent gets to put Sensei's Divining Top back into play. But all is not lost because I do have a top on my own, and as far as I remember, my opponent tries to find something to get rid of it, but they don't, so they just say, it's okay, I can deal with the top. At this point, I am also starting to be concerned about my time. I'm only on 6 or 7 minutes, so I need to really win this game, because the third game, yeah, that's going to be tough to win. Okay, so I hit the red mana, which is great, and I play a polluted delta here. Note I don't have a lot of mana, so just topping into Past in Flames here is not going to do much, especially because I really need two action spells. I mean, the Infernal Tutor and the Past in Flames are really good because one of them is going to get hit by a Flusterstorm, but then the other one can resolve. So and this clock isn't too bad. It is a clock, but yeah. So here, drawing LED and Past in Flames is pretty ideal. So I'm just going to draw one of my action cards, and then I have to say go again. The thing is, these cards are amazing to have on top, and I really want all of them. So that's why I don't really act at this moment. Right, so at this point, my opponent tops. Let's see what they find. Oh, drawing a top, that's a bad sign for me. Sorry, drawing a card with top, that's a very bad sign for me. That means they drew a Mentor, and that means I'm dead next turn. So, yeah, and they still have a Flusterstorm in hand. Yeah, this is pretty bad for me. If they hadn't drawn the Mentor, I think I'm in incredibly good shape, actually. Because I can just draw a couple more cards. So here, Dark Ritual. I decided to draw the Dark Ritual because I'm thinking Past in Flames, it's an extra spell, I don't have all that much mana, so I can flash it back. But yeah, it's not necessarily great, to be honest. So here goes the Flusterstorm, I tap into Inferno Tutor and get my Volcanic to cast Past in Flames and hope that that this resolves. Of course it doesn't, but yeah. So now, unfortunately, well, my opponent doesn't have a Flusterstorm anymore, but they do have, yeah, they have a top on top. But I don't have enough mana to actually do anything, which is quite annoying. I can get LED with this Inferno Tutor, but that doesn't actually do anything. So I'm thinking for a bit, and then I concede because I don't actually have enough mana. If I did draw the LED instead, I don't think that I would have actually had enough mana to cast this Inferno Tutor at this point, because I would have had to tap my Trop, Underground Sea, Volk, and Island to cast the Past in Flames, and then having LED in play doesn't actually get me to Inferno Tutor, so I don't think I could have done anything different there. Anyway, so that is game 2, and we have about 4.5 minutes to win the third game, but if any deck can do it, I think Storm can do it. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, hello back to game 3, where we have 4 minutes and 29 seconds to win this most grindiest of all matchups. So let's see what we get. We get a hand without any lands, and if I know myself, I'm gonna keep that. That is a glorious hand. I think actually I just misclicked and I wanted to mulligan this, but I hit the wrong button. But you know, you gotta live dangerous sometimes. So I see a hand that doesn't have a force of will, so I'm ecstatic, especially if I draw land here. So hopefully I draw land. Of course I don't, but that's fine. You know, that is totally fine. My opponent probably thinks, "Oh my god, what an idiot! He just kept a no-lander." But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. At some point, I might get a divining top into play. That would be quite good. Good, good. We draw LED and play it. So at this point, I could discard my hand. I decide not to. You know, controversial. Right. Meanwhile, my opponent just plays more land. Must be nice. Must be nice. So let's see if I can do something here. Excellent. I draw another LED, and I am probably just laughing my ass off at this point. So I play the LED, but you know it's all good. As if I draw a land and a dark ritual, I guess we're in good shape. But oh yeah, and now my opponent plays explosives for 0. This must be the most hilarious game of all time. And yeah, so I actually, oh right, he waits until my draw step maybe. I don't know why he doesn't just blow those up. But yeah, I decide to finally draw a land and play a Senseless Divining Top, and get stripped two LEDs. Those would have definitely been nice. I can tell you that much. Right. So here I just need to draw lands. So I am setting a stop on my upkeep, and I am topping. Oh, I am not topping. Ah, see, I am just greedy. And play this brainstorm here. I mean, I know my opponent has Pyroblast, but something's gonna get Pyroblasted at some point anyway, so I might as well play it. And you know, it's just positive for me if he decides not to. Although, if you don't Pyroblast the brainstorm, why are you bringing in Pyroblast? Right. Well, you know, nothing. All is not lost. I get to scry 3 end of turn. My opponent again isn't doing anything, so I have all the time in the world. It is a bit annoying that I lost my two LEDs, and it's also a bit annoying that I have about 3 minutes. Land. So I think we keep the volcanic and just put a couple of goblins into play. That is all I can really hope for at this point. So I played a land, I passed the turn, planning to end of turn abrupt decay the counterbalance, and that is that. Right, so look at the top 3. There's Cabal Therapy. That is actually really good, because I can name Flusterstorm with that Cabal Therapy. So I decide to play Cabal Ritual here, making a bunch of mana, and now I can. This isn't a lot of. These aren't a lot of goblins that I get here, but you know, it's not that bad. So this is fine, I'd say. So my opponent is adding to the to my storm count, which is awesome, and adding more to my storm count. I'm pretty ecstatic at this point. Just like, yeah, please cast more brainstorms. Oh yeah, please. Surgical Extract my Cabal Rituals. Go nuts. Yeah, at this point my opponent knows what I have in hand, so they're probably not going to cast any more spells in my turn. So they cast Flusterstorm. Yeah, I mean that the thing is they know I'm going to name Flusterstorm because I have the Empty the Warrants in hand. So you might as well cast it, but that adds to my storm count. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I obviously don't pay for that, and I am just going to play my Empty the Warrants and hope for the best. Oh yeah, drawing a Dark Ritual I knew I had on top, which is fine. To add even more to the storm count, and then I make a bunch of goblins. Yeah, so almost surely my opponent is just dead now, I hear you say. And then he has another Flusterstorm in hand. And this is really annoying because I have a minute left on the clock and my opponent has a Flusterstorm, so I need to figure out which ones I which ones I have to pay for, or which one I get to pay for, and which ones I just let counter, because I obviously don't want to double pay or pay for one that I then have to pay again. So this is actually quite annoying. But if everything goes well, I should end up with 6 goblins in play. And I do, it only takes me half of my remaining time. But yeah, F6ing through a turn is pretty fast, so 5 a turn. This is a 4-turn clock. It is still a 4-turn clock, but yeah, it's not amazing. It's not amazing. So I draw an ad nauseam here. Just a perfect card at this point. I hit F6 and go through my my attack step and hit him for 4. Right. At this point, I really hoped he wouldn't play another Snapcaster Mage because that reduces my clock by a turn. So it is now again a 4-turn clock, which is quite annoying. So yeah, and I only have 25 seconds, but it is a 4-turn clock, so I can do this, unless my opponent obviously. Alright, yeah. So I clicked through this a little bit fast, but my opponent casts a Kozilek's Return, which is a bit odd. I don't know. Most people just have the 2 explosives post sideboard, which I think is fair enough. I don't think you bring in Kozilek's Return against Storm. I guess actually, knowing game 3, I only have a couple of seconds left on the clock. My only out is really to get a fast Empty the Warrants. It might be good to bring it in game 3 in this situation. But yeah. So let's see what my opponent draws here. I mean, I'm not giving up. I might draw something amazing. Tendrils. That is pretty amazing. I only need five spells. And these turns don't take very long. Frozen Grip, excellent draw, excellent draw. That is what I need to be able to win this game. And now end of turn Frozen Grip, I go down to 13 seconds. These next draws better be spectacular. Duress. Alright, well, I'm not casting that. Gotta save the time. My opponent just F6s because I'm losing this game. I draw Polluted Delta. I could end of turn at nauseam, but very unlikely it resolves. And now this Dark Ritual. This actually wins me the game. So I duress That is spell number 2. And my opponent casts something. Force of Will, that is spell number 3. I now just have to Inferno Tutor for Inferno Tutor, and then cast my Tendrils of Agony, but I don't get there. I took too much time in the second game, but I'm fairly certain I just have my opponent here. Because I just Inferno Tutor for something, and then fetch twice and cast Tendrils of Agony, which would have been amazing. But unfortunately, I took too much time. But I'm just gonna take this as a win. I'm gonna be like that. All right. So that is round 2, and I believe that after this round I fixed my recording issues, so we should be back to normal.